Glad you made it back, my friends. Welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show. We're now joined by Congressman Reschenthaler. He represents the 14th District of Pennsylvania, serves on the Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. Sir, thanks for making the time.
Chris, thanks for having me on.
Last week, you introduced legislation to cut funding for the World Health Organization. And yesterday, the president said the U.S. would cut funding while we investigate the World Health Organization's failures. The president could invoke something called the Impound Act and suspend funds, but that still is going to require congressional approval. Do you think that's going to get done?
Well, I don't think that Congress being controlled by Nancy Pelosi, unfortunately, Kevin McCarthy is not the speaker yet. She's going to throw up a roadblock, of course. However, we know that the language is vague that was appropriated to the World Health Organization from Congress. And the Washington Post even quoted a senior Democrat staffer on the Appropriations Committee that said the language is vague. So the White House is accurate in saying they can redesignate that money. So the money that was designated and appropriated for the World Health Organization could go to another international body.
Okay, so let's look at the WHO. It is set up to prevent exactly what we're going through right now. So at best, it is incompetent. Our $450 million annually, and it goes up and down. At worst, it's incompetent. There is now evidence out there tonight that they actually knew what was going on, that Communist China had been covering it up, and because of their love and affinity for communists, for the brutal dictators in Beijing, the World Health Organization used our money, our resources to help cover up on a propaganda campaign around the globe for the Communist Chinese. Tell me something. Why are Democrats so committed toward covering for the Chinese and to keep on throwing good money after bad?
Well, it's simple, Chris. The Democrats are just engaged in playing partisan politics, political games, because they will do anything to attack this president, even if it means siding with the Chinese Communist Party. That's really the bottom line on this. And I do have to say, when you were talking about how much money the United States funds the World Health Organization, you were off by a few $100 million. We're just under $800 million that we fund the World Health Organization. That makes up about 22% of their entire budget. And most of what we give them, the vast majority, is what's called voluntary payment. We're only assessed a little over $100 million, yet we give them close to $800 million. And what did this World Health Organization do? Instead of keeping the world safe, it was either, like you said, grossly negligent, or it was working hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party, trying to play political correctness and trying to be a propaganda wing of the CCP. We know that Taiwan warned the WHO back in December that this virus was passed human to human. Yet the World Health Organization parroted the Chinese talking points saying that it did not pass human to human. Then the World Health Organization criticized us when we shut down travel from China and Europe, and they refused to call this a pandemic, while at the same time congratulating China on how well they handled it. China's the one that let all their citizens travel out from Wuhan to spread all over China and then from the world.
Okay, all right. Let me see. That's all in the record. We all know that. Let me get back to Nancy Pelosi and her. Do you think it's ideological? Do you think that perhaps she has an affinity with the Communist Chinese, ideologically speaking, she and her political party? That's why she's so loath to criticize them, so loath to hold them accountable?
Well, there's certainly a lot of members in the Democrat Party that have been acting as if they're CCP apologists. Senator Leahy, for example, when he was talking about this issue, the fact that they're treating China with kid gloves when we know it was China's negligence. But, Chris, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact that they're playing party politics. They're putting politics above health. And, again, they hate this president so much that they'd rather side with the Chinese Communist Party than work with Republicans on this resolution and defund the World Health Organization.
Yeah, we were looking at some of this earlier. We'll look at some of the reaction from Democrats in this country. I want to read one stanza we picked up. Democrats say that without the World Health Organization, we can't stop the virus from spreading abroad and possibly reinfecting America down the line. Wait a minute. That's exactly what just happened. They stopped this. They prevented the stopping of the pandemic in China. They have actually done with our money what the Democrats say we must continue to give them money to prevent happening in the future. Again, I said it in the first segment here on the Chris Salcedo Show. Nobody fails up like a Democrat. Nobody fails up like a communist. It seems they say, yes, we fail, but keep giving us money. That's not merit. That's not merit based, correct?
Chris, that quote made me laugh because it is truly laughable. The World Health Organization is the one that refused to call this the pandemic. And they're the ones that were congratulating China on how well China handled this pandemic. China's the one that caused it. A Southampton University study, which is no bastion of conservative thought, said that China is responsible for 95% of the cases. Why? Because had they acted sooner, had they just allowed American doctors, American scientists into Wuhan and just cracked down travel in Wuhan, we could have stopped the spread of 95% of this. Yet the Democrats, or at least the Democrat you quoted, now says we have to give the organization that was applauding China, the organization that was either negligent or working hand in glove with this Chinese communist, we've got to give that organization money. That organization is part of the reason why the world has this pandemic in the first place.
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly. And again, at the very best, they're failures. Last thing, your district, Congressman, how are you guys doing as far as weathering the pandemic? And more importantly, how soon do you think your district or maybe your state is going to get back to work?
We've had some deaths in my district. There's no doubt about it. Pittsburgh is getting hit, and I have a district all around the southern part of Pittsburgh. We're doing okay. Philadelphia is getting hit, but I can tell you that this economy is ready to come back. We had the strongest economy ever, particularly in Western Pennsylvania, and I think after we get through this, we're going to come back to an even stronger point.